r/AskReddit. Serious, in the heat of anger, what was the worst decision you've made? What were the consequences? I confronted my then wife's lover and he said, "Yeah, I'm ducking her. What are you gonna do about it?" It was dark and I don't think he had seen the golf club that was right next to me. I beat him with it severely and didn't stop until I heard sirens. I was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Edit. Obligatory thanks for the gold. I sincerely hope it was for starting such an interesting conversation and answering all these questions and not for committing a violent crime. Throwing my phone because I was arguing with the Lenovo customer support about the warranty on my broken laptop. The phone hit the TV which cracked the screen on the phone and TV. Now that I'm using Internet Explorer on a library computer, I regret everything. I can totally see that happening because phones are just so perfect for throwing in anger. I can't even remember all the times I got upset after a conversation and then just threw the phone on the table until it bounced back one day and cracked the mirror. Didn't say goodbye to my mum the last time I ever saw her. Wished in my head she'd die. Only because I was pissed off she and my brother were going to Fiji without me and I was stuck with having to go to work. But I didn't realize it was because her radiation therapy hadn't worked and she was pretty much going home to die. I had no idea it had progressed to that stage, so when she came to hug me I turned away. So she gave me a side hug. Well, that was the best she could do and she was pretty weak at that stage. I still feel like the shittiest person alive thinking about her face that morning and her little bony frame pressed up against me. Edit. Hey, thanks for the nice comments guys. I didn't realize anyone was going to take any interest in my story. I explained below a bit more about the situation in a reply to someone. I also should have explained that I guess my mum didn't tell me herself, probably because she was a super positive kind of person. In the last couple of months before she passed, she was still telling me her plans about what she was going to be doing. In her words, "When I get better," she had plans for where she was going to go forward with her career. She had a psychology degree, but worked with disabled people in a respite center. It didn't seem like she could die to me really. That added to my shock, I guess. After a series of frustrating events, duck it. Today is a good day to try a cigarette. Still trying to quit 9 years later. Worst decision I ever made while angry? Telling a suicidal friend he was a kitten and just wanted sympathy, so as usual, like most people, turned to suicide for that sympathy. Consequences? I saw a good friend blow his brains out that day. In an argument with my now wife at our first apartment, I, being alpha as duck, decided it was best to show her my love by punching a wall. 2 things. I had to repair the hole in the wall. I found a stud. Is this sort of thing learned? My dad never hit me, but when I really set him off, would have to get really bad, he would punch walls, break chairs, etc. Then when I found myself old enough to get pissed off at things, I would do the same. Telling a judge whatever. Duck this court in the city of Richmond. Consequence: 30 days in jail for a contempt of court charge. Edit. Richmond, Virginia to be clear. On a list of things not to say in court, that would be right up there. I was making food, got angry, stubbed my toe on a salad bowl that was on the floor for some reason, kicked said salad bowl out of the way, got even angrier, went to leave, stubbed toe on salad bowl again, picked up salad bowl, smashed salad bowl, cue 3 hours of my 4-year-old sister crying and screaming, saying, "You killed my favorite salad bowl." I was eating some tuna after having a very bad day. My younger brother kept teasing me for something I don't remember now, and wouldn't shut up after I told him to several times. All of a sudden I snap, grab my fork and launch it at him. Fork hits him in the head. 5 seconds later blood starts coming out of his head with increasing intensity. Consequences? A lesson. If you are having a bad day, don't take it out on others. Especially your family, which is the only group of guys that really give a shit about you, plus a life scar on his head. Got into drunken fight with wife. Drove off angrily. Crashed into tree. Spent a long time in intensive care. Almost died. Face permanently disfigured. I was in my dorm room at college. I was tubby and a bit of a loser. Played a lot of video games by myself. Anyway, my roommate and his friends always made fun of me, but one day it was especially bad. I tried ignoring them, but when he sprayed water on me, I just snapped and threw a pair of scissors at him. They got lodged in his arm. Someone else was filming it, and of course, it ended up on the internet. They immediately reported me to campus security. Parents were called. Lawyers got involved. Long story short, the stupid ducker taping it didn't delete it. Once the college staff and lawyers saw the video, they advised the duckers to drop it. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. I moved into a single room. Nobody else really liked those duckers either, so I enjoyed a small amount of fame for a couple weeks. But since nobody really liked me either, I was quickly forgotten. When I was 19, I worked at a summer camp as a sort of supervisor of a group of counselors. There was an event coming up and I had wanted to take a day off in order to attend. My boss insisted that it wasn't possible for me to take the day off, so I decided to call in sick because it pissed me off. Now, knowing that I would need a note from my physician, I actually went to the doctor the following day. My normal doctor was not in, and a nurse practitioner was filling in. She did a pretty thorough exam, poking and prodding my stomach and asking if it hurt, etc. I probably reacted in a couple of areas trying to sell my illness. At this point, she recommends that I visit the ER because she believes I may have appendicitis. This means a better doctor's note, right? I'm in the ER. My entire family is there at this point. They're having me drink the barium milkshakes to prepare for imaging to see if I need to have an appendectomy. I have to drink 4 of these things over an hour. I'm on my last one and the doc comes in and tells me he's going to have the surgeon come in to chat, knowing that they're going to take these pictures and everything will be fine. I'm not concerned. Well, the surgeon comes in after I've finished the last drink. He says that he can see I'm in some pain. Still selling it, to which I explain that we're going to take some pictures to see if it's legit, which will turn up negative. He then explains that he doesn't need the pictures and we should just go to surgery now. 10 years later, I'm appendix free and to this day still haven't told my family. Too long didn't read. I faked being sick to get back at my boss and now I don't have an appendix. Edit. Row. Thanks for the gold. In a heated argument with my mum I shouted suck my dong. Instantly regretted that. Found out a good friend raped my little sister, him 16, her 9. I was around 12 at the time, walked at his house. When he answered I hit him in the head with a metal bat. Ding. Consequence for him some juvie time plus sex offender shit. Mine was being depressed and feeling like I failed my family. But shit, the sound of the ding from the bat on his head kept me going. I was a little kid around 8 years old, and I had gotten in a fight with my sister. I got really pissed off and threw one of those mini CDs at her in a rage. It was a GameCube game, I think. It curved perfectly through the air and hit her right between the eyes. I'm laughing about it now, but she had a scar for a while. Similar story. I was sitting on my bed reading a magazine, and my sister came up to my doorway and started bugging me. I told her if she didn't quit, I'd throw the magazine at her. Now you wouldn't think a magazine is aerodynamic enough to be thrown accurately 20 feet, or at least not do any damage once it gets there. Anyway, she continued to pester me, doing so with the door cracked open just an inch. I sat up on my bed, threw that magazine like a ninja star straight through the crack in the door, and hit her squarely between the eyes. The spine left a red mark and she was hurt a little, but we both started laughing because neither of us could believe what just happened. My older sister was teasing me mercilessly when I was about 8 years old. I was stewing over it for about an hour and decided that the best revenge would be to destroy her favorite blanket that our mother had made by hand. One for her, one for me, cut from the same cloth. I grabbed her blanket and a pair of scissors and proceeded to cut the blankie to ribbons in front of her. She started laughing hysterically, which was not the reaction that I expected. I looked at what was left of the blanket and saw my initials on it and realized that I had mistakenly destroyed my favorite blankie. A girl chased me out of a bar after an argument we had gotten into. Didn't know she was following me until she punched me in the back of my head. Turned around and elbowed her. I went to jail for that because I stayed till the cops arrived to give my side of the story. I had to take anger management classes and pay her for the insurance of her injury, emergency room visit, prescribing her ibuprofen, and now I have to show future employers a slip showing my case was dismissed. Punched a cop in the nose and broke it. It was instinctual after having a ducking horrible day coupled with some creepy ducker following me for 4 blocks. I thought it was the creeper, not the cop I hit when I felt a heavy hand on my shoulder. The cop was freaking out on the ground and his partner pulled his gun on me yelling to put my hands up. I had to explain why that mistake happened. Worked okay, but had to go to the police station to explain my story. Found out the cop was about to ask me if I noticed my wallet was about to fall out of my pocket. Ends up with the broken-nosed cop saying it was okay and that it would be let go if I bought him the burgers he was on his way to get. His grin was comedy gold. Ended up buying burgers for the whole department. That was expensive. Edit. Yep, I was really lucky. This happened when I was 18. And I'm 21 now. If it helps. White as can be. For a broke college student. Over $250 for burgers is a bit steep. I'm just happy it all ended on a positive note. My parents don't know and probably never will. Thank God or whatever other deity. Let's go with Odin. Thank Odin. I was camping at a lake, drinking a few beers, and just having an all-around good time with my buddies and some girls. Out of nowhere, some douchnozzle comes up and starts harassing my buddy's girl. He's a pretty small guy, who is also a pacifist. I'm a big dude that love to fight. I asked douchnozzle to leave, and he said you gonna make me faggot. I got really pissed, blacked out, and apparently threw douchnozzle ass first into our campfire. TL. Doctor, I throw people into fires when I get mad. Edit. I don't call myself Jay. I just have fat fingers and this phone keyboard is tiny. Not myself, but my dad used to have a serious drinking problem. One night, when I was in high school, I was driving home from work and the town I lived in was very small. I ended up driving behind a truck that I was pretty certain was my dad's. Now I should add that I was driving with my brights on because one of my headlights was messed up and it wouldn't turn on without having the brights on. Well, I am driving home thinking how funny it is that I ended up behind my dad when he slows down and comes to a complete stop at a curve where I couldn't get around him. I was very confused. He gets out of his car and starts screaming at me from his car. He is calling me all sorts of names and grabs a Frosty from Wendy's and throws it at my car. He ended up throwing it so hard it dented the middle of my hood. I was absolutely terrified. He had gotten mad like this before and I seriously had no idea what I had done to piss him off. He starts walking towards my car, and even though he was a good distance away I could see the look of rage in his eyes. I was physically shaken, so much so that I couldn't even manage to cry because I was so terrified. Turns out, my dad had gotten into an argument with a guy in the Wendy's parking lot who had a similar car, and since I had my brights on, he couldn't tell it was me. Not to mention he was probably drunk. When he got to my door, I assume he planned on grabbing the dude out. He just stopped frozen. He got back in his truck and drove away. When I got home, he walked into his room, grabbed a bag and left to stay in a hotel and start getting help. He couldn't look me or my mother in the eye. Punching a huge dent in the side of the refrigerator. I am not a smart man. Car broke down for the 20th time. Barely made it back into the driveway. No money for repairs. Angrily kick the rear of the car, smashing the tail light. Yell at my own stupidity and throw the keys far into the tree line. Immediately have to go find them because my house keys were also on there. When I was 14, my dad forgot to pick me up after school, and he told me to find my own way home. I walked approximately 8.5 miles to get to my house. Then he wouldn't let me in. I was so angry I went to my neighbor's house. Kid in the same grade as me lived there, Mike, and when I told him what happened he said I could come in. He had an older brother who smoked cigarettes and weed. I had never before smoked, drank, etc. But I was mad, really mad. We stole all his shit, got high and smoked all night in Mike's bedroom. Consequences. 11 years later, still smoke cigarettes, dealing with cancer. Worst decision ever. All because I was angry with my dad. I was getting a ride to school and I saw my bully, at the time, riding his bike. So I opened the car door, hitting him. The consequences were I had to pay all his medical bills and thank God he didn't press charges. In my short-tempered teenage years, me pops got into a massive argument. I don't remember about what but thinking on it now, It was probably petty. In my fit of rage I decided to punch a tree. I didn't think it was that hard of a punch until my hand was about the size of an eggplant. Went into the house and told my dad my hand got caught in the garage door and off we went to the hospital. The first words out the doctor's mouth after the x-ray, looks like your son has a boxing fracture after the surgery. 6 weeks in a hand cast. A month of physical therapy. 2 weeks of my pops not talking to me and the family calling me Samson. I learned to control my temper and not my temper control me. Edit. I'm more of a console guy but will definitely check out Minecraft. I got angry at someone who was born and proceeded to treat them like shit for almost 8 years. I was 8 or something when my cousin was born. When he got older, he was always over here. I don't know why I hated my little cousin so much. He was a great kid. I just had this rage. It would manifest in doing tiny little things to hurt him, maybe trip him, or would just destroy him repeatedly in video games or something. I also used to glare at him a lot when he wasn't looking. When he was about 8 and I was 16 or so, I had to watch him for a little bit, and he wanted to go outside and play with this stupid little golf set, but all I wanted to do was stay in the house and play video games. He dragged me out, he gave me a turn, and I accidentally hit him on the head when I went to swing. And by accidentally I mean completely on purpose, but looked like it was accident. So, I hit him. He broke down crying. Had a small gash on his head. I took him into the house and cleaned his cut, and indifferent to his crying I just coldly said it was an accident. Then he replies through tears, "It's okay. I know you wouldn't hurt me on purpose." That's when it hit me. Almost like I hit him. That's when I realized what a ducking shitty human being I had been. I treated him like he was ducking trash. What the duck was I doing? Why the duck was I so angry? After that, it just went away. I'd say that we're pretty much best friends since then. When I was a kid, probably around 12, I had an argument with my sister and I punched her in the mouth really hard. For a 12-year-old, I immediately felt bad for what I did. She started bleeding and crying. I told her I was so very sorry and that it would never happen again. She stopped crying and didn't tell anybody what happened. And of course, it never happened again. I love you, sis. Thanks for not telling mom and dad. I was playing chess with my mom. I was in my elementary school's chess club at the time, so I thought I was pretty hot shit. I was 10 however, and she was an adult, so she was beating my ass without effort. I was a small donghead, so it didn't take long for me to reach my 10-year-old boiling point. In a fit of misplaced child rage, I picked up one of her knights and I bit it. It was a cheap plastic set, so I managed to take a chip out of it. The knight remains chipped, and to this day whenever I get upset about something mum just says don't bite the pony. I was probably around 12. My older sister had a friend over and was being really mean to me. She was in her room with the door shut, so I took some string and tied her doorknob to mine across the hall so she couldn't open it. Of course, right after I did that, she knocked a bottle of nail polish remover onto a candle and lit her carpet on fire. Yes, I cut the string. No, they weren't hurt. Her friend actually told her to stop being so mean to me. But the next time I'm 12 and upset, I'll remember that teenagers aren't very responsible with fire. Picked a fight with a SWAT team. In my defense, the only reason I was so pissed off was because of the Adderall I was prescribed. I was shot in the left testicle with a beanbag round and was carted off to a funny farm for half a year. When I was 14, I kicked my dog. It didn't hurt her badly. She licked me afterward. But I can't think of anything I've ever done in anger that I have regretted as much or for as long. It's been 23 years and I still remember her turning to lick me. What an amazing animal. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.